Hello, welcome to in this lesson we're going to be practicing nesting. And I've prepared some CSS so that we can visually understand nesting and how it works. And we're going to begin by connecting that CSS style sheet to our HTML document. So let's go ahead and begin there. Let's make a link, and you do that with the link tag. So you create link. And then we're going to type REL, which stands for relationship. And you're letting the browser know what relationship this style sheet has to HTML document. And that would be style sheet. Let's go ahead now and put the reference to the index.css. Okay, so we have named this CSS style sheet as index.css. It could be named styles.css or anything else. And just make sure it has the same name. Okay, so now let's hit save and see what happens. Ta-da! We have a purple background color applied to the body tag. That's why everything turned purple. Let's remove this hello world here. And now we're going to play with nesting. So I'm going to create a div element. This is the most common element that is used on HTML. And this element doesn't have any semantic meaning. It is pretty much for any content that you want to divide from other content that you're not sure if you should use other semantic tags for. And as you can see, I created this div element with a opening tag and a closing tag wrapped by the body opening tag and the body closing tag. So it's a child of the body. Now let's add a class by typing class equals, in quotation marks, I'm going to put white. And now you're going to see that this element has a white background. It has a width and a height. This is because in the CSS, I have applied a style to any element that has the class of white. So think of white or a class as a cell phone number that the CSS can call and then attribute styles to any element that has that class. And similarly, there is an attribute called ID. But the ID, it is not meant to be used on multiple elements. Only on one single element on your whole document should have that specific ID. So it's good for when you're making an element that it's going to be on your website only once, and you can call that, for example, advertisement. And then in the CSS, you can style that. Also, JavaScript uses IDs to communicate with elements. So we're going to leave this as class of white. Okay, I'm going to make another element here, and I'm going to call it div class green. All right, so now we have two elements, and as you can see, they're not inside each other, they're next to each other, and that's because they are siblings. Now, what would happen if I grab this div with the class of green and put it inside the opening and closing tags of the div with the class of white? I'm going to hit save. All right, there we go. Now that green div is visually also inside of the other element. It is wrapped by it. Okay, so I'm going to create proper indentation here so that we can visually understand what's going on. And now you can pause this video, go in here and create another div inside of the green div that has the class of red. I'll wait. All right, that should look something like this. Ta-da! Perfect. I love it. Let's create more elements here. If you'd like, feel free to play around however you want with this. These are the only three classes that I have styled, so stick to those three classes there, the white, green, and red. But you can have multiple elements. And you can keep doing the same thing for all of them. Pretty fun. Feel free to play around with these elements and